Alright, blood and hemoglobin. Words that we'll use are red blood cells, hemoglobin, protein, and nucleic acid. So let's look at our playing field here. Right in here is a cross section of our capillaries. So I'm going to write that in. Our capillaries are the very small, tiny blood vessels, and inside the capillaries are the red blood cells. They just barely fit inside. Down in here, this thing is a small part of my alveoli, which is inside the lungs. So remember, our diaphragm moves in and out in order to draw in oxygen. So oxygen is now inside the alveoli. And this is a very thin membrane. This oxygen goes into the capillary and surrounds the blood cells. Oxygen now is inside, and it has to go into the red blood cells. But inside the red blood cells is a special thing called hemoglobin. And there's a lot of hemoglobin in one red blood cell. So let's zoom in on a very small section. And this zoom in is going to be the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is made up of 4 different proteins, and I'll just have squiggly lines that represent the 4 different sections. That is hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein. Your cell makes this hemoglobin. The hemoglobin binds oxygen inside. You can only have 4 oxygen molecules in one hemoglobin molecule. What I just drew in are oxygen molecules. Proteins themselves are made of small parts. So a quick zoom in. And this is, I'm going to represent as a Lego piece. It's a small little block. These blocks are called nucleic acids. Nucleic acids make up proteins. So, going back to the hemoglobin that's inside the red blood cells, we have all this oxygen going into the hemoglobin. In order for that hemoglobin to take in oxygen, there has to be a lot of oxygen surrounding it. This right here, that means it needs to have high oxygen concentration. If there is not enough oxygen from the alveoli or the lung to make it into the capillary, hemoglobin will not take in oxygen. And this red blood cell will have very little oxygen to bring to the cells. That is very important to remember. You need high oxygen concentration to get oxygen into the hemoglobin, which is inside the red blood cells.